So hey, this is Jason Brooks, playing Jason Voorhees in the upcoming film Friday the 13th Vengeance. I'm sitting here with CJ Graham. You know him from Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And we just want to sit down for a little bit, have a talk, and talk about this upcoming project.
Yeah, Jason, I'm excited about this. Playing your daddy, Elias Voorhees. It should be exciting.
Absolutely, I'm excited to have you too.
Thank you.
So, why would you agree to come out here and help a bunch of guys make a Friday the 13th film playing Elias?
Two reasons. Number one, it's a great cause. The kickstart.com is going to be amazing to help get this production done. And the crew's amazing. You yourself done a great job with the Jason character. And I think the cause on the promotional side of it with the Shriners Children's Hospital is another good cause. But I'm excited just to participate. I think the film has merit. It can go a long ways with the right script, the right writers, the directors involved, and I just don't want to see it go dormant.
So you know about the Elias character already, right? Because in Part 6 there was a possibility that could have been written into the ending there.
Yeah, Tom McLaughlin had talked about this and kind of breezed over the pack. And if you've ever heard any of Tom McLaughlin's interviews, he talked about Cheech and Chong as being a possibility in a Jason series. And he also talked about Jason's father and how that could be incorporated into maybe how Jason got to who he is today, and just a little backlash bringing Jason's father, Elias, into it. So I'm kind of excited to see how the twist and turns as we get into this a little more emotionally, and again how Jason responds to Daddy.
Awesome. Do you have anything in mind about how you think Elias should be played?
Well, it'll be up to Jeremy Brown as the director, but I think it's really going to be a direction that they came up with, and a script that's going to have material to it and substance. So I'm hoping to get a little guidance on it. But if I looked at it from being an armchair quarterback, as I call it, I think he's going to be a very direct character. I think he's going to be kind of materialized in a military sense, because I think he's going to show how Jason got to being so powerful. Everybody always looks up to their father, and in some cases they have strong mothers, but in this case it's both. So it should be interesting to see the outcome.
And I can't sit here and be playing Jason in this film without asking you some pointers, right? So I spent quite a bit of time researching you, Cain, and a few others.
Who?
Who?
Who? Cain? Who?
Yeah, that other guy from 7, 8.
Caught you off guard, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
Good interview. Well, I think the first thing is I'm going to use my trusty machete to help you shave that beard.
Okay.
So we'll do a dry military shave with that, because I can tell you from experience, because when I started shooting I had a mustache at that time, and after putting on the prosthetics and putting the hood over so many times, I finally shaved it off because the skin became so irritated. So we're going to get rid of the beard so that you can work more casually and relaxed.
Uh-oh.
But I think from a posture perspective, great size, stamina, and I think, my personal opinion, Jason's power comes from specifically the way he carries himself and walks, and the dominance in each step that shows power without having to say anything. And I always challenge our fans. I do conventions periodically, and I challenge them to put a hand, close one eye, look through, and that's the peripheral vision that Jason has. So when you think about how you're going to walk, you really can't see where you're walking, so you really need to practice that dominant walk. I think secondarily is showing power and curiosity. The tilt of the head, it's only a 1/4 inch tilt, but on camera it carries significantly. But also, Cain had a part where he showed his breathing, and that was his way of showing his anger and frustration and power as he came through. So I think by you monitoring how everybody's done it and then put Jason's touch to it, I think it's going to be a great job.
Did you have any experience where anything got challenging or went wrong? Or
No, I was fortunate. The actors and actresses I worked with, they trusted me totally. And when I took that hunting knife and went to the head, it was a real hunting knife. But with movie magic and the director, we were able to shoot it with me walking with the mask on, and then from the POV of the knife, where I got to take the mask off so I could use better vision to see where I was going to stop. But he allowed me to take a real knife and physically throw it towards his head and stop. Darcy, I physically picked her up in a room and we fought, and she'll tell you the same story. She was bruised the next day, but she trusted me to take her head and throw it into a camera and stop to get that friction showing you going through. So I think a lot of it has to do with the cast. Of course, your stunt coordinator making sure everybody is safe.
What was the most challenging stunt that you've done in costume?
Well, the interesting thing is, you know, and some fans may not know this, but I'd never done a stunt in my life when I did Jason. Everybody says, oh, he was a stunt man and an actor. No, I wasn't. I was a nightclub general manager running a nightclub. I became a stunt man very quickly. So every stunt had a little challenge to it. Going back to what I said earlier, I had a stunt coordinator that put me through everything. So everything I did was the first time I'd ever done it. And when they hooked the chains onto me under the water, I was 20 feet underwater breathing off a regulator, and that was a real chain. So if I didn't signal for the safety divers to come in and give me oxygen, I was screwed at the end of the day. Being set on fire, I gelled myself and stepped into the flame. When I was going through the wall or the door, again, same concept, peripheral vision, and you hope you don't fall, you know. Shotgun jerk back. I had never done that before. They put me in this harness and did the PSI on the back and tested me a few times to get the feel of that jerk back. And so again, fortunate. So all of them were a little challenging because it was the first time. But I was young, athletic, maybe egotistical, but I had a great stunt coordinator, Michael Nomad, kept me in good shape.
Which is a stunt that you're most proud of?
I'm most proud of the underwater stunt. And the reason for that is we were actually 20 feet underwater in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, diving pool in Los Angeles. And when I say it's a real chain, it really is a real chain. And they had me standing on a center block at the bottom of the pool. And they had blackened out all the walls so it looked like night. And all I could see, going back to the eye, was straightforward in darkness. But I could hear the camera. I could hear the rolling. And all I could do was do what I was expected to do, signal for air. Safety divers come in from whatever area, just pull my mask and stick a regulator in my mouth. Give me a few breaths, I'd pull it out, pull it down, grab the stunt coordinator and start the fight again, you know, and get different angles. Every few minutes we'd go up on top, I'd put my arms up and we'd talk with Tom McLaughlin, the director, and he'd show us on a little tiny screen how it looked and say, do this, do this. They get me back down to the bottom, put the chain on me, position me in the right angle, because I couldn't tell where the camera was, and then we do the fight again.
I had the opportunity to do some underwater scenes for Vengeance, and I'm telling you, wearing that full costume, the prosthetics, the full silicone hood, the mask on top of that, getting underwater, that was challenging. And I was not even that far underwater. I was on my feet and just kind of going down, maybe in about 5-6 feet of water. But I can't imagine 20 feet.
Well, like I said, with the chain being real, and you look in the film, you can see where the chain has been screwed tight. Yep. Let's just say I go to the end, I'm out of air. No matter what I do to get those gloves off, I'll be panicking, trying to get that off to get to the top. I just don't think you're going to make it. You're just not going to make it. There's just no way. So you really are putting your life in their hands, and that's why safety first. And it's so important to make sure that your stunt coordinator is watching your back. And as you mentioned, Cain Hodder, he's done a lot of stunt coordinator and a stunt man himself, and he'll tell you the same thing, safety first. You know, and unfortunately, Cain had a bad experience where he was severely burned. He didn't dot his I's and cross his T's, and it just didn't work out. And today, he's still hurting from that burn. So, but he's a prime example of what can go wrong. He's still with us, thank goodness, but he could have lost his life.
Oh, absolutely. So, speaking of Cain, I've
Who?
heard that other guy. Speaking of Cain, I've heard that he's done a lot of pranks on set. Has a lot of fun. Is there anything like that with you on Part 6?
Yeah, you mean things that I do or Cain does? Because Cain does all that kind of stuff still today.
Yeah.
Because I will be the first one to tell you that I've done conventions with Cain, and Cain likes to do things like come behind you with fart spray and clear out your table and walk on. Siege, is that you? Oh, and he walks off. So Cain is he did a lot of things, I'm told, but Cain and I both had a very similar philosophy. We stayed away from most of the actors and actresses till it was time to have the most impact. But Cain is, you know, we do fun things. We did a convention about a year ago together, and he happened to have his table right next to the entrance to the bathrooms. So I took a picture on the back. I put Cain's office with arrows and taped it up above the hallway going to the toilet. And through half the show, he didn't realize till someone said, "Why does it say Caine's office pointing to the bathroom?" Well, of course, I heard this, "Siege! BJ, where are you?" You know, so we kind of go back and forth. But I've known Caine for obviously roughly 30 years, and we're friends going back that. And I've always been very happy and proud of what he's done as an ambassador, doing part 7, 8, 9, and 10, and getting out there, letting the fans know about it. Of course, his series Hatchet, done an amazing job with that. So I've always had a closeness with not just Caine, but all the Jasons.
Yeah. Was there anything pranks on set of part 6?
You know,
mellow.
I think on my side it was pretty. If you look in some of the pictures in the background, you may find a turkey. It's just the head, and it's a rubber turkey hanging in different places. That was a prop that they just threw into some different shots, and it had meaning to the crew, but nobody else. So there's some things where you'll say, "Hey, what's that turkey?" And it's a rubber turkey that they were just throwing gags on. But for the most part, we were pretty much business. At least I was. It was my first film, so I was probably too naive to get too cocky when it came to doing different things.
Yeah. That's was that your first major film?
First film ever.
First film ever.
Period.
And how did you get that?
I was very fortunate, very lucky. I was the general manager of a nightclub, large 15,000 square foot nightclub, and you know, I had a hypnotist show on Thursday evenings, and the hypnotist wanted to put together a promotional film for his show to start putting it out there for other opportunities, maybe Las Vegas, etc. It just happened the team that came in to do the post-production was called Real Effects, R-E-E-L Effects, Real Effects, and they just happened to be the ones that had done part 4. And when they talked to the hypnotist about doing a scene, maybe a scary scene, they said, "Hey, let's do a Jason scene. We'll take CJ and put him in the wardrobe. We've got the wardrobe." So they put me in the wardrobe, and when I came through the screen, I still remember them saying, "Man, we're going to cast you for Jason." And I was like, "Okay, sure." But lo and behold, a couple months later, I got a call to go down and meet Frank Mancuso Jr. at Paramount Studios, and Tom McLaughlin, and Michael Nomad, the stunt coordinator. And as they say, the rest is history.
Right place, right time.
I think so, and physically I had the right structure they were looking for. I think some of the greenness I had was maybe what they were looking for too. You know, I wasn't coming with a preconception of anything. And yeah, I think it was, I always say I was lucky, very fortunate, but I'm very proud of it. I think we did a good job in part 6.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of the big fan favorites. What did you do to prepare to be Jason? Did you do any research, watch any other predecessors before you? Or?
Yeah, what I did is, up until that point, I wasn't as familiar with it as I am in today's world, but I did do very similar to what you have done. I went and took a look at part 2. I looked at part 3, the 3D with Richard, and then Ted White's character, because part 5 really didn't resonate like the other ones. And then, of course, part 1 was just a boy. So I got a chance to see what they had, but Tom McLaughlin was very good about directing as what he envisioned Jason would look like coming back from the dead. One of the great things about doing part 6, and there's 4 things, you know, I get to wear a Batman utility belt. I get to have a rock and roll Hall of Famer Alice Cooper did the music for it. I get to have the James Bond opening. I mean, how cool is that when you think about it, James Bond opening. And I come back to life like Frankenstein in the 60s. So I think with that, there's no nudity in part 6 if you go back and think about it. And there's some little bit of Abbott Costello when it comes to the credit card, never leave home without it. So I got a really nice in the middle, and I'm very fortunate that I did that. I do get people ask today if I'd ever shoot another one. And you know, you always think about it because it's been so successful and you want to continue to be part of the iconic image that Jason has become. Jason may not be an A character, A actor, but I will tell you right now, I don't care where you go in the world, if you ask somebody to show a picture of Tom Cruise, they know who it is. You show a picture of the hockey mask, they know who it is. They may not know it's CJ Graham or Caine or Ted, but they know it's Jason Friday the 13th. So it has really become an iconic franchise worldwide. But if I was to entertain opportunities, as I've always said, if I thought there was a script that made sense and I could deliver a product as good, if not better than part 6, I would consider. But I'd have to be able to deliver a product. I don't want to take away from the quality of the product that we did in part 6. Personally, I want to deliver. Other than that, you know, the role, Jason, can be played by Jason, you. And I think that's just the way it is in business. It's time to turn the torch over, I think we talked about earlier, and let the next person take over.
So I think that if you were to come out, if there was a script that was epic enough to bring you back out, then I think fans would be all over it.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've found with the fans is they know everything.
Yeah.
I have been doing photo opportunities in the last year with the wardrobe, and I will tell you right now, make sure you've got the the button unbuttoned, because that's the way it was in the movie. Make sure you've got all your things together. The movement, that's easy, but you want to make sure that wardrobe is spot on, because the fans that are true-hearted horror fans, they catch it. You know, we are actors, we are football players, and the coach tells us what to do. And if the coach says, I want you to jog or run a little bit as Jason, or jump off the roof, and maybe it doesn't make sense to you, we are being directed to do so and paid to do so, so we don't get as much input as we'd like. And that's why I say, to me, if the project came along that kept Jason in a highlight that I feel he should be kept in, and that I could deliver, that would be of something of interest. But I think it's really interesting how the fans, they critique, they're looking for that, but that's what they want. They want to be able to go in their backyard and look out in the woods and see Jason as they envisioned Jason would be when they came outside. So I think it's interesting.
So with the Jason Lives costume and props, what have you been able to keep?
Well, you know, I was fortunate because, you know, I guess they misplaced a couple hockey masks, and I just happened to fall into them, so I kept them all those years. I still have one. This is my hockey mask from the opening scene, the James Bond scene, and I was able to keep it, and I've got it in a box. I still have one blade, which is the hunting knife. Other than that, I have nothing. I do have the props like anybody else that are of similarity, but I was only able to keep the one. When I did Highway to Hell, I still have the glasses that Hellcop wore. So in today's world, you want to keep as much as you can, because they come just not just a prop, but things you could donate to a museum or something in the time comes.
So after playing Jason, at what point did you realize you're a big deal?
Well, I think, you know, we did this, you know, 34 years ago. And you think about it, 32 years ago, you think about it and go, wow, I had no idea at that time, because it was in the middle of the series. But, you know, Cain Hodder came along and did 7, 8, 9, 10. Ken came along, did Freddy versus Jason. And then Derek Mears just did the last one in 2009. And in the last probably 5 or 6 years, it's really started to pick up momentum. I think people are just in awe about the Jason and getting back to true horror value. And what I mean by that is, you know, Jason is real in the mind of going out in the woods and all of a sudden experiencing this crazy maniac with a machete. And the nice thing about it, it's not green screened. It's not, you know, it's not a Star Wars movie. You know, it's not done with computers. It's the real deal, so to speak. And I think people are starting to get back to, though we love technology and it's great and it has its place, and I really think there's an opportunity to make Vengeance just an opportunity with using drones and different things that, you know, we didn't have POVs and head cameras and body cams and things that we didn't have access to that stuff in '86. I think that's going to make the film that much more detailed and draw more people in. But I think people like just the old, back to good, clean horror versus too much, where we get too much electronics going on and people are going, well, it was all done on a computer. That's a little more scary when you look at this.
Yeah, I like the practical effects.
Yeah.
It's just grittier, it's more real. I like that. And I think also the video game that has come out, the Friday the 13th video game, I played Jason at a haunted house, at the Nile Nightmares haunted house, and I've had kids come up to me and they're like, it's Jason from the video game. It's not Jason from Friday the 13th, the movie, it's Jason from the video game.
Right.
And so I've noticed it with my kids too. They've watched or played the video game, and they're saying what their favorite Jason is, and it's a part 6 or it's a part 5 or 4, whatever. They know it from the game, and then they've kind of found and discovered the movies from the game. And so I think there's been a bit of a resurgence over the last couple of years from that as well.
I would agree. You know, Cain Hodder did a lot to inject some of the moves of all of us and the weaponry which Part 6 has, again, the Batman utility belt. So I think that's helped tremendously, and it's taken another generation into video games, getting into the electronic concept. But I really think that's where they've started to come to the tables, where I have people that are 5 years old in full wardrobe, and they don't say a word. They don't break character when they're at my table. And then they'll come back afterwards and show me, remember me, I did this, and they were so proud that they didn't break character. Then I have people that are 30s, and then some that are 60s. I've got a great photo with 3 generations. One guy's around 60, one's around 30, and about a 9-year-old, and they're all in wardrobe in different phases of Jason. And I'm just like amazed at the embracement that the fans have. So at the end of the day, you know, the people we need to thank are the fans, because without the loyalty of the fan base, we couldn't be here today talking about it and being so iconic that it's become. And there are people, you know, that have really worked hard to get us here outside of the studios, you know, the personalities. I mean, like I had said earlier, Cain did 4 of them, and Cain is the hardest working man in the horror business. Every weekend or every other weekend he's at a convention, and he's done a lot of great films, including his Hatchet series, but at the same time, everybody knows him for Jason. You know, Derek Mears got a large resume, very large resume, but he played Jason. But you know what? His passion is improv, comedy. You know, that's his passion. So all of us have different passions. You know, Ken, you know, he lives in Vancouver, BC, and he's on both sides of the camera now, and he has other passions too. So I think it's been really unique group of characters that have played Jason that bring a different formula to everybody. So the fan base has broadened substantially.
And speaking of the fans, we've, I think one of the cool things about Vengeance is that we are all fans. We've grown up with the series, we've watched them, we're fans of the series, and we're writing it with that in mind, and we're writing it with the fans. And we've gotten fan feedback as we've gone along, and kind of incorporated that too. We're listening to what other people feel and think, and we're really trying to make our best Friday the 13th film that we can. And we've collected quite a few people, and actually we have a mask. This is our Friday the 13th Vengeance mask, made by Brian Hargrave, Splat Voorhees. But we've got a couple of replicas also that we've got a couple thousand members, and we've done a couple of giveaways. And I was hoping that you wouldn't mind signing.
Ah, it'd be great. Love to.
And
you know, you were talking earlier about keepers from the movie and stuff.
yeah,
I still have my original contract from Friday the 13th and my original script.
yeah,
How crazy is that?
that is amazing. I
So-
think I saw you post a video about that.
I did. In fact, it was, I believe it was August 1st. It had been 32 years, if I recall, and we put it out then.
Oh, nice.
So,
So here's one of the replicas.
all right.
So you'll have to show me how this goes. I've never signed a mask before yet.
We'll get it on camera so we can learn, okay?
Yeah.
So, all right, well, since this is the one with the 357 hole.
It is.
Now, what I always try to do is show respect, because this is part 6, so I sign wherever I want to.
Mhm.
But if it's a part 7 or a Jason versus Freddy, I always ask the fan if they're going to get more autographs, and I go and sign it to the right or the left. So whoever the mask came from gets to sign the center spot, because it's always the hottest spot.
Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll get a mask that's got everybody's signature, and I have to be creative. And I have been known to sign sideways right across the nose right there, and right here I'll draw my little hockey mask. So if it were me signing these, and I'm going to sign it on camera, so I think the best spot is going to be over here, Jason Lives. One thing I also try to do personally is make sure that I do put something on there, and I take my time and sign them so they're legible.
Okay.
You're going to get to a point where you're going to think, oh, my fingers get, but you gotta, the fans are really want something that's signed and legible. So what I do is I put it just like that. So, and I think the reason not here because we got the 357 hole.
357 hole, yeah. And we also put on this one the damage on the right side of the mask from the boat.
That's from the boat.
And we included it on the left because it's cool.
And now on this one I'm putting 18 kills because that's how many kills I had.
Uh-oh.
Always got to do something different. You don't want it all to be the same. And you know, the interesting thing, you mentioned something the fans may be interested in. How's that?
I love it.
The fans may be interested in is, you said something about the boat. You know, we did water scenes. First we shot the water scene in Covington, Georgia, Then we shot the water scene in a 6-foot pool when I was set on fire. Then we shot the water scene in a 20-foot pool when I was underwater. And the last scene where the propeller of the boat hits Jason's face was done at Tom McLaughlin's mom and dad's pool in the backyard. True story.
The boat?
The boat with the propeller was Tom McLaughlin's mother and father's backyard swimming pool in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
So Tom had people go down and get bloods and guts from pigs, and he had promised his mother and father that he would clean the pool extensively when he was done.
Wow.
So think about that. So it gives you an idea. That water scene was 4 different locations. And movie magic, putting it all together to get the point of view, and it looks good.
Nice. Is that where you sunk down also?
Yep.
Wow.
So
Blacked it out.
blacked it out.
I like it. All right. We got so you're avoiding the top with the bullet hole.
Only reason I'm avoiding it is because the space is taken up. But anybody can sign it. I mean, at the end of the day, personally, if it was me, I think that one I might have the director sign. You know, one thing that nobody's ever taken advantage of. You know, I have a mask right now that's signed by all the Jasons. It's a white mask, but every Jason has signed it up to Derek Mears, and that includes Richard.
Wow.
Yeah, Richard signed it too. So you kind of want to set one up that's going to be notary. I think, you know, Jeremy Brown on it and get everybody signed on it in the cast. So it's an original deal.
Absolutely.
That'd be something. I think it's a great concept. You know, when you look at Kickstart.com and start funding this, maybe these are some of the things we can do as giveaways for that contribution and stuff, and do some different giveaways online and make sure the fans are getting what they want too.
Yeah, we've got a lot of requests for the replica masks, and these particular two, because we've hit a couple milestones with our followers, so we've given away a couple. So
good.
Yeah, we just want to reward the fans and pay them back for their.
We can never pay them back for enough. We just keep pushing forward. And one thing that I've found is we do selfies and we do a lot of autograph signings. You know, it's funny because, you know, you go into a convention, fans know you're coming. And it's a nice feeling, but I can understand how some people would get annoyed to a point. You know, but you got to remember, you signed on for this. Get used to it. You know, and you get off a plane and you're coming, and they know you're coming to that convention. You're coming up the escalator and you've got 5 or 6 people standing there waiting for autographs. Or you're being dropped off after a convention and you've got 5 or 6 people outside waiting for the limo to drop you off and want your autograph before you get on the plane. You know, and so I do know there are major artists that get tired of it all the time, but it is part of the game. You signed on to be an actor and expose yourself, so get used to it, you know, and appreciate the fans, because the fans are what make us and they keep the series going. So, you know, we, the Jasons, we always talk to the fans that they're the biggest thing, and how appreciative we all are towards the fans and what they do for us.
That's one thing I love about our group too. We got Jules and Peter and Jeremy and Dustin. We were all always talking about what can we do to give back, because we just appreciate everyone and their support and what they've done for us so far, and especially with the, you know, with Kickstarter and the people who kind of helped fund it early through Mythos. We really want to take care of them as well. But that's one thing I love, is we're constantly saying, what can we do to give back?
Right.
And we also have a couple of questions from
Let's do it.
from the fans. Let me pull them up here real quick. So we let people know that we were going to come out here, and we put a little poll out saying, hey, let us know your questions for CJ. We'll pick one. I think we're going to pick a few.
Okay.
So, Scott Husabin from Miami, he wants to know, what are the key elements in creating terror in a scene?
Scott, well, it's, in my opinion, it's not necessarily blood and guts. And we get back to the power factor of Jason. The power that Jason projects is completely different. Blood and guts, anybody can do that. But the power to take and break the sheriff's back, squeeze a head where the brains pop out, pull a heart out, just think about that. That's terror. That's real terror. Because it's the unknown of the caliber of the power of the person coming after you. You know, anytime you go into a battle, you know, you go to a knife fight, you bring a gun. You go to a gun fight, you bring a bazooka. You bring a bazooka, you bring a tank. Always remember, try to be a step ahead. It's war no matter what way you go at it.
Nice. I know that other guy, Caine, he said...
Who?
Yeah. he has gone and said he loves the physical kills more than the weapon kills. Is that your?
It's very similar, and we both agree. My favorite kill, Scott, just to go a little deeper into your question, my favorite kill is breaking the sheriff's back. The power, the force it takes. Caine's favorite kill is the sleeping bag kill. The power it takes to swing that body into this tree and hear it hit and break. That's a lot different than just pulling your throat out and watching you bleed and squirt. I mean, that's cool, but the power, that's the visionary, because each person interprets that power differently. So when you interpret blood just popping, we all see the blood. It's the same, but the bones hitting. What just hit? Was it the neck, the back, the foot? Everybody has an interpretation of what just happened differently.
Nice.
So that's cool.
And then Danny Bailey from Idaho. In part 6, were you the one in the scene with all the maggots, and was that real? That scene has horrified me more than any other scene in horror.
Okay, so Danny, right? Danny, I never take credit for something I didn't do. That was a second unit shot. Christopher Swift is his name. Second unit shot means I was on first unit shooting a scene and they wanted to get a second shot in. So Christopher, who did all my makeup, said, well, I'll put it on my eye, and they make up his eye, did a close POV with the camera. Those are real maggots, by the way. And Chris allowed them to put maggots on him. They had a maggot wrangler with a Q-tip keeping them from crawling into his eye. So I did not do that. You can set me on fire and kick my butt in every other ways, but Chris stepped up and did that with second unit.
Would you have done it if they asked you to?
Oh yeah.
Or? Yeah.
It didn't faze me. But again, I didn't know it was part of. They were trying to get double shots done. You have a second unit and a first unit out there shooting, and a lot of times second unit is doing drive-bys with the cars and the stunt men, and those are called second unit shooting. And there was just time to do a second unit, and they wanted to get it done. It was a close-up, and if you take a look at it, it is a green eye like mine, so there are similarities, and Chris volunteered to do it.
Nice. And we have Shawn Loves Us from Seattle, and he's asking, he says, it has been made public that you will be donating your actor's fee to charity, the Shriners Children's Hospital that specializes in burn victims, to be exact. Is there a specific reason for this decision? As in, is there something in your life that has persuaded you to make such a wonderful gesture, or did it just seem right? And we love that you're doing this, by the way.
It just seemed right. There was no rhyme or reason to it. The Shriners Hospital has always taken care of children, and as you may know, Cain Hodder was badly burned in a bad stunt, and he does a lot of charities specifically for burn victims because he understands it more than anybody. But it just seemed like a good charity. It was some of the involvement that they had talked to, and I thought to simplify the process, I would just volunteer my salary for shooting of the movie specifically to the Shriners Children's Hospital.
And we thank you for that. And Jason Moosebrake, he asks, what prep was involved in the bus stunt in Jason Lives?
Jason, that was really cool because it was obviously you have a mobile home, it's going to be flipped on its side. So you got one take basically because we don't have an extra mobile home laying around. But what they did for that is Michael Nomad jumped in there, stunt coordinator, and put it up on a 2-foot ramp, flipped it on its side early morning as you could see, and it was a beautiful stunt. Once it hit its side, what they did was they set it up with some gas, propane, to make the fire. I got back inside the mobile home. They undid the hinges. It's a real door. And they put me on 2 blocks so that I could squat. And I took my hands, and when I came up, I just hit that forcefully. And I guess I hit it pretty good because that door flew. And like I said, it's a real door. There's nothing about it. But I was probably angry, tired at the time. But when I hit that force, it flew up in the air. And then I stepped up. And the challenge was to step up and out without losing your balance. You know, because you got to look good getting out. You can't look sloppy. And then walking to the end and just taking that Jason pose, I think that was just killer. It came out perfect.
It did. Did you have a ladder in there or anything to climb out? Or
No, what they did is they put 2 boxes. Two
boxes.
wood boxes that are used for some of the supports for cameras and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just squatted down on the boxes, and it made me, so I was right there within distance. So as soon as I hit it and stood up, I was right about waist high. So I had to get that first step out and get my footing and get up, and then stood there and walked to the end, and everything was on fire with the music.
That was a pretty epic shot.
Yep.
Is there anything else that we haven't really covered?
Well, I mean, just, you know, for the fan base, I'm excited to participate in this. You know, you asked at the very beginning why. Elias, I think, has substance in the series. And as the Jason series continues in the future, I think you're going to see a lot more different effects engaged family-wise to see how Jason got to where he is and how he now has become so powerful beyond recognition that nobody will ever stop him. I think that opens up twofold. It keeps the series going, but also I think by doing so there's some continuity within the series as we move forward. So there's some uniformity to keep the series moving. Like I always say, the Harry Potter series was amazing because they thought it through from beginning to the end. And there's connectivity between each one of them. So I'm hoping going forward they maintain some connectivity and don't broaden the scope of just making a film for the sake of making a film, but they bring it all together. And I think the Elias Voorhees, daddy, maybe it'll bring a feature into it that we could really get a new leaf jumping board, springing board to get it to the next generation.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Jason.
Yeah.
All right, stay alive, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Listen
Absolutely.
to Daddy.
I will. Be a good boy.